This is the 49ers Report by Chat Sports coming your way on today's show. Going to take all of your questions on the San Francisco 49ers. But first, make sure you subscribe to us on Callin. It's an audio social podcasting app that's like Twitter Spaces, but even better. And we go live on YouTube and Rumble every single Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. And we go live on Callin for a live podcast where I can answer your calls after we do our visual medium. So we're in the podcast game as well. Make sure you subscribe to us when you download the Callin app, chatsports.com/49erscallin on your iPhone and Android devices. The link for that is in the comment section and the description of this video. Lucius with this question to kick off this mailbag. Deebo hasn't been paid yet, but I feel as though it's a good sign that he is attending mandatory minicamp, and he seems to be on good terms with the team's front office. Does this mean that he stays a San Francisco 49er? I think it's a good sign moving forward, and you consider everything that's transpired with Deebo after the year. He deletes the 49ers off his Instagram page, then he demands that trade, and oftentimes a relationship can go the contentious route in which Deebo demands to get traded. He wants out, and oftentimes because of the player empowerment era, the front office will cave into that pressure. I actually give the Niners credit for not giving into that pressure coming from the player. They wanted to repair that relationship. Kyle Shanahan speaking on the first day of mandatory minicamp when Deebo Samuel was in attendance, doing some workouts on the side and hitting the weight room, saying, "I never felt as though our relationship was that far off from actually repairing it." And by all accounts, Deebo, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they've had a good relationship over time. I think this is just what you're seeing from players in the NFL these days and in the NBA. When they want a new contract, especially when they see a bunch of other players at their position group securing the bag, getting these historic contracts, and in Deebo's instance, going into the final year of his rookie contract with a base salary of $3.9 million, with the state taxes in California, he wants long-term financial security. So I certainly see where he's coming from. Him reporting to mandatory minicamp, it is a positive step in the right direction, but Jeremy Fowler saying hasn't been a lot of progress made with these contract talks. We'll see what transpires over the next couple of days and weeks. Chew Allure with this: if the 49ers trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Browns, do the 49ers get picks with Baker Mayfield? I don't think so. I think it could be a player-for-player swap. Now, going into this year, Jimmy Garoppolo's cap hit is at $26.9 million. Baker Mayfield at 18 plus. So you save about $7 million in change just by trading Jimmy G for Baker Mayfield. Now, for those of you watching right now, you're like, okay, Baker Mayfield, better arm, former number one pick, probably the better quarterback. He's also younger than Jimmy G. He's not going back to Cleveland. And with everything going down with Deshaun Watson right now, another civil suit filed against him. I think we're up to 24 at this point. I think there's a realistic chance that Deshaun Watson doesn't play in 2022. And at the very least, I think he's going to be on his way to a suspension of, let's say, anywhere between 4 and 8 games. And the backup right now for Cleveland is Jacoby Brissett. So if you trade for Jimmy G, he's actually going to play for you, unlike Baker Mayfield. And for the Niners, Trey Lance insurance, you have Baker Mayfield, who has pedigree, and I think that Mayfield would welcome coming to San Francisco. New environment, clean slate, new foundation. You get in Kyle Shanahan's offense, it would be a reset moment for him, and he gets out of the drama-filled Cleveland Browns organization. Why Big Jordan is next up. Why do you think no fan base wants Baker? A lot of reasons. I think it's his swagger and it's his confidence that rub people the wrong way. Coming out of Oklahoma, I like that about his game. But he is a little bit sensitive. He's not scared to fire back. I don't know that he's shown the necessary leadership skills to be the face of a franchise. I think he's cracked under pressure at times when there's been pressure coming at him from the media as well as the fan base, and that's why he's lashed out in person during some of his press conferences as well as on social media. He's also coming off an injury-plagued season in which him, like Jimmy Garoppolo for that matter, did get shoulder surgery. And he had a really bad year last year. And there's been drama that's followed him throughout his NFL career. And he hasn't necessarily lived up to the number one overall pick status. So I think that's why teams are kind of having trepidations about Baker Mayfield, and then also it's the money. About $18 million on that rookie contract. He's pretty expensive, and a lot of teams at this point do not have a lot of money left to pay for Baker Mayfield. So you talk about the distractions, the injury, the dip in play, and the money. That's why organizations are staying away from Baker, but I do think he's one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. Summertime is here, and I know a lot of you are going on vacation. Some of you have a beach house. Some of you have a lake house. I want to ask you this. Are you a beach or lake person? I want to hear from you in the comment section. Something different that I'm asking the audience today. Type B for beach, L for lake. For me, I'd rather go lake, less people, less crowded as compared to the beach, and actually really like just chilling by the lake. I think you can do more too. You want to rent a boat, you want to take out some jet skis, go for a swim, hop off the dock, go back on land, chug some beers. It's a really good time. Less rules as well if you have your lake house. You don't have to worry about all the lifeguards and the security personnel looming over you at the beach. I'm typing my L for lake. Moby Doe, if we can't trade Jimmy G, should we just release him? I think the 49ers are holding out hope that they can get some type of semblance of value back for Garoppolo. If he didn't get that shoulder surgery, I think he could have fetched the Niners about a second-round pick. I mean, you look at what Carson Wentz has gotten in recent years, Sam Darnold, lesser quarterbacks. They've got about first-round picks, second-round picks, some third-round picks, and I think Garoppolo is better than those two players, and he's won 71% of his starts throughout his entire NFL career. Now, what is giving teams pause is a couple of things. It's him being injury-prone, coming off a shoulder surgery on his throwing arm, and $26.9 million as his salary cap hit. That is a fat sum. Now, I think he's worth it for teams that are desperate for quarterbacks. Here's the deal, though. A lot of teams aren't desperate for quarterbacks because of all of the quarterback movement that took place throughout what was an historic NFL offseason. Good question from Moby Doe. Pate_Ace, does our defense or offense lead the way for the Niners next year? I think it's going to be the defense. I think the Niners defense has the ability to be one of the best in the NFL. You look at their defensive front. It is straight up loaded with arguably the best pass rusher in the game in Nick Bosa, coming off a 15.5 sack season. He had like 3 or 4 more sacks in the playoffs. Just tremendous coming off that torn ACL. Eric Armstead, once he switched to D tackle, was wreaking havoc. On the other side, Drake Jackson. You've got really good depth with Kerry Hyder, Samson Ebukam, Charles Omenihu, Kamoko Toure, Hassan Ridgeway, Javon Kinlaw, if he's able to live up to him being a first-round pick. Like, the depth along that defensive line is great, and that sets the table. That sets the foundation for everything else, because at that second level, I think the Niners have one of the best linebacking corps with Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shire, and Dre Greenlaw, and I think their secondary is much improved from last year. Number 1 corner, Charvarius Ward, like Emmanuel Mosley, Ambry Thomas. Jason Verrett is one of your depth pieces with Diamador Lenore, Samuel Womack, Tariq Castro-Fields, and then at the safety spot, a little bit of a question. Who's going to start opposite of Jimmy Ward? Ward is great, played awesome last year. He's lived up to being that first-round pick after originally he looked to be a bust. Is it going to be Talanoa Hufanga? Is it going to be George Odom? Tarvarius Moore? Some questions at those safety positions, and if Ward goes down, that is problematic. But everywhere else, I do like the Niners defense a lot. I think they pace the team, and you have to consider, like, Trey Lance, a little bit raw, right? So I'm not sure that Kyle Shanahan is going to put everything on his plate right from the get-go. They're going to kind of ease him in if he is indeed the starter, which I believe he will. Who is more important to the Niners this upcoming year and moving ahead into the future? These are two building blocks. These are two franchise pillars and both members of the same draft class. 2 really good hits in the first and second round for John Lynch and this crew. DS for Deebo, NB for Nick Bosa. Let me know in the comment section right now. Mama G, 33K. What's up with Dee Ford? Kyle Shanahan saying on Tuesday that he is going to report to the facility this week. He's going to take his physical, and he does not believe that Dee Ford is going to be on the team. So he's probably going to be one of those post-June 1 cuts, and Dee Ford no longer going to be a Niner. Unfortunate what happened to him with the neck and back injuries, which really curtailed what was shaping up to be a fantastic career. Pate Ace back at it. Who will be the offensive line starters for week 1? That's a great question. That is the biggest question mark in terms of positional groups on this Niners roster. And probably my biggest concern right now as we stand here approaching the middle of June. At left tackle, it's going to be Trent Williams. I think at left guard, it'll be Aaron Banks. Who's going to start at center, man? Is it going to be Jake Brendel? Is it going to be J.C. Treader? Could it be Daniel Brunskill? And then that then leads to who starts right guard. If it's Brunskill at center, who starts at right guard? Could it be Jalen Moore? So I'm not sure who's going to be at center, who's going to be at right guard. I have a pretty good idea if he comes off that quad surgery, that Mike McGlinchey going to be the starting right tackle. So that is my best swing and my best attempt at what the offensive line will be in front of Trey Lance. Every single week after our live shows air on YouTube as well as Rumble, as we go live now, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, we go live for an interactive podcast on the Callin app. And right now, we are 5 people away from 100 subscribers on Callin, nearly 60,000 subscribers right here on YouTube. But we're trying to catch Chicago Bears now, the 49ers Week 1 opponent. So if you want to show that you're a member of the Niner Gang, the Niner Empire, and you want to join our weekly live podcast and call into the show, it's like Twitter Spaces, but even better. Make sure you download the app, chatsports.com/49erscallin, subscribe, but also show everybody else that the Niner Gang shows up, they show out, and let's beat the Bears Week 1 on the field, but also with call-in subscribers. Sub to me, and I'll sub back with this. Have you seen the video of Deebo at training camp? He looks happy. Also, please tell Jim Foster to get out. Okay, I'll tell Jim Foster that. As for Deebo Samuel, look, this is a guy who has a great personality. He's exuberant. He always has a smile on his face. And because of that, I want to see him back because I think he's a big member with the 49ers culture in the locker room. He's a team leader. It was him and Trent Williams leading the Niners out of the locker room all year last year as the two guys who were holding up that boombox and playing Super Gremlin by Kodak Black, a banger, by the way. Yeah, I mean, Deebo is a guy who feeds off positive energy, and he doesn't like to be a negative guy or a distraction. And I don't think he's going to be a distraction throughout mandatory minicamp or in training camp. I think at some point a deal is going to get done. And when that happens, you'll see an even wider smile on the face for Deebo Samuel. If I didn't answer your question on today's mailbag, appreciate all of your questions and your hot takes. You can give me a follow. You can hit me up, slide in my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I made it easy for everybody, man. And women. It's the same handle on both social media platforms, at Chase_Senior. My social media platforms and handles always in the description and the comment section of this video. Give me a follow, slide in my DMs. I tweet out all of the latest 49ers updates and some clips from the show, and we get to chop it up on social media.